voice of Reichman University.
Come to my hackathon, come, bo. I just bought you hackathon, special deal, 20% off.
Startup Shuk. Exploring Israel's tech bazaar with Deo Arlo.
Welcome everyone to Startup Shuk. We are joined today with Dror Talisman, the CEO and co-founder of NeuroBrave. How are you, Dror?
I'm very good, you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. The reason I'm glad to found you is, one, I saw the Technion badge in your LinkedIn and I realized, hey, this is someone from the same place, so I'm always happy to talk. And when I found about NeuroBrave, I read about it and it's very similar to concept I read back then from a professor in America. His name is David Eagleman, and he spoke about sensory addition. So he's a neuroscience professor, and he spoke about adding senses to the human body. Now we have 5, right? Tactile, olfactory, smell, listening, gustatory, that's the tongue. And he added senses, for example, to the stock exchange, so that we can feel how the market is moving, which is a crazy notion. But he made it work. The way he do it is by putting sensors to our body and putting, additional tactile devices that will vibrate or give us some sensory information. And that is mapped to a wave graph of the market. And after some training, 2 months, 3 months, people can actually guess if it's time to buy or sell, which is quite funny. And I know it's completely different than NeuroBrave. NeuroBrave is more of sensory and turning signals into insights.
That's an interesting application. I have to say I haven't heard about it, but yeah, it makes sense.
It's very interesting, and I'm very glad that I found this company. So I would love to know more about you and your company, but first let's talk about your background. How is your upbringing and what led you to maybe Technion and first maybe your next venture and then eventually NeuroBrave?
All right, yeah, sure, happy to. Thank you for having me here. It is appreciated. I love Reichman University. We have actually our scientific manager is one of the professor over here, and we have a lot of collaboration. So we like that. And I'm originally from this city, from Herzliya. My parents live here, and I actually grew up not far away. So it's always nice to come back home after traveling around in the world. All right, so I'm 40. I have a 7-year-old daughter that she's already starting to be smarter than me. Then we see the next generation moving very fast, and like to see it and very, very proud of it. And I started as an engineer, signal processing and mechanics, did the Technion, and it was like a part of a military program where we study first and then we go to the military as engineers. Exactly, Atuda. Sometimes it's called military reserve, but it's not the right translation. It's something I think we invented, or maybe professional officers. So I learned it at the Technion, which is one of the top for sure in Israel and even in the world. You have to study very hard, otherwise you fail. The tests, all the mathematics and physics. It's super difficult. But it's a bonding experience. I think you get better after you finish the degree over there. Also, cum laude. I was okay. I think in my studies. Then I went to the military, to the special forces. They they interview us and they agree. They decided who goes where. So I found myself.
What did you major, by the way, in the Technion?
Sorry, what?
What did you major, by the way?
Well, it was signal processing of actually, a waveform of the ocean.
Is it in the BME faculty or?
It's mechanics.
Mechanics.
Mechanical engineering. That's the faculty, and we had all kind of professions over there. So it was like a combination between electrical engineering and mechanical engineering.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Over there. Well, yeah, it was nice. It was interesting for me. I think I pretty much enjoyed. But it's academic studies. You don't do a lot of practical things. But I think when I finished here, we design a system to forecast tsunami waves in the Mediterranean Sea. I think it's working, by the way. It was like 20 years ago, but I think it's actually working. So that was nice, yeah.
Do we have tsunamis ever in the Mediterranean?
Not that I'm aware of, but they're always anticipating.
It's good to prepare.
Exactly. You have, signs where to go, where to run from the oceans, from the sea if you have, but I'm not very familiar. I don't know. There's, there are earthquakes and volcanoes in the Mediterranean Sea, so tsunami is also an option. But they keep on monitoring it, so that's good.
Hopefully we'll never have to use it. But
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, that's what I did. I'm not sure it's very interesting, but anyway, and then I went to the Special Forces, which is, it's called the Sayeret Matkal, like the Israeli SAS.
Wow.
Yeah, as an engineer, of course. And, we did a lot of cool stuff, and then I found myself in the Special Forces Tech Unit, which is, it's called 8153. You can check it out on Wikipedia. I think there's a page on that. And that is like the most advanced intelligence tech unit in Israel. A lot of engineers, thousands of engineers doing a lot of R&D research and actually developing intelligent systems. Very, very interesting, very valuable. And then I was there for about a decade, for about 10 years. I was the head of robotics field and a senior project manager. It's like 800 people underneath my management, not directly, but basically, this is what we do.
What sort of projects do you guys work there that we can speak of?
Of course. Well, they're not. Most of them are confidential. We like robotics. We did also robotics with the industry and the Israeli DoD, the Mfat. And the idea was basically, unmanned, etc. Unmanned stuff. So you can send them to missions that are very dangerous or very dirty or very something. And since robotics is I know you like it, so yeah, we can talk a little bit about robotics, but today I'm doing mental health, and physiology and electrophysiology, different things. Maybe the interaction with humans, that's the common denominator. But basically, robotics is a field that there's a lot of very, let's call it, unprofessional development, like a lot of makers and stuff like that very, very common, and only really, really few commercial applications. Like you have, robots in factories, you have now starting a little bit delivery, these kind of things. You have drones, you have these kind of things, but except for military, I think, industries of UAVs and these kind of things, when it's in the air, it's easier. You don't see it, very common. And the reason is it's a complicated field. You need for those pieces of metals and plastic to, coexist with humans. And a human environment is something that was designed for humans. All right, for humans and not for machines. Right. So it is very difficult for a robot to do delivery. In this building, it's very difficult for a robot to clean this place. It's very difficult for a robot to fix things, to build things. It needs to be designed from the point of view of the robot. So, and a lot of, integration of a lot of technologies. You have mechanics and electronics and software and algorithms and sensors and everything. So it is a very multidisciplinary system that needs to work. And also, somehow it needs to provide an ROI, right? A return on investment. Otherwise, it's just building a very expensive machine and no one will buy it. So there's a lot of constraints in robotics.
There's a funny quote about robotics. They say that what's very easy for humans is very difficult for robotics, and what's very easy for robots, like moving things 100 times, heavy stuff, is very hard for humans.
Yeah, I agree. So now I think mostly, need to coexist in some way. So there's like really good companies designing robots to clean buildings and stuff like that. It's very dangerous and nobody wants to do that. Or cleaning nuclear reactors or this kind of thing. So, and that definitely makes sense. But also, yes, deliveries and driving cars and these kind of things. It's still it's a robot at the end. Hopefully it will move faster, but there are a lot of challenges until it's going to be fully commercial and, step by step. I think what I like liked, and this is maybe also what I did in the past, and a lot of the implementation is the interaction with humans. Like I was specializing in it's called like a human-machine interface or human-computer interface. The how does the robot work with you through all the technology? Like how do you understand a person without even asking him? Because the robot can ask you, he can ask you, can I move aside? But he needs to anticipate, what the people around him should feel and react. And that is still very complicated. So I think I really like that part of the company.
Well, we're talking about robotics.
Yeah.
Might be worth to comment on the current uprising of the robotics, I would say, race. We see in the past, for example, in the 2000s, early 2000s, it's the phone. Everybody's trying to build a pocket-sized phone. The iPhone was the clear winner, and then followed by Samsung and all of that. And then far later, we have the AI race. Well, that's currently what's happening. And I think what's currently also rising lately, very recently, is the robotics uprising. We have companies in Israel like Menti, which is building humanoid robots. We have Figure from America, and we have obviously companies in Japan like Toyota and others building humanoid robots. What do you see coming in the future?
Well, it depends what type of future are we talking about. I won't say I might be a little bit of a party pooper here. Maybe because of my experience in the field and know how complicated it is from the inside. I think it's gonna take time, and I'm always asking like, okay, so you have the perfect humanoid, and it costs $1 to manufacture, which both things won't happen in the next 100 years. But let's say, what do you do with that? Like, we have people, they want to work. They need to work, and they can do a lot of things. So, all right, I have the perfect humanoid. He doesn't cost a thing. What am I going to do with it? Send them to, what? So the what is a problem here. Like everybody wants, the robot to do the dishes for them and clean their house for them. But, I clean my house. You can bring someone else and pay him not that much, such a high amount of payment or wage, even an hourly wage. It's not that there's a problem that it's not solved. It's solved. People cleaning their house, washing their dishes. Okay, so a robot can do it. What's the added value here? And I think that's a problem. It's not very, very clear. So first of all, we need to find a really, really good use case for this kind of technologies. And then it's very expensive to build those things. And then they really need to interact in a human environment. Or we build the environment to fit to them, like industrial environment, which is, fully automated, and it's built with a lot of investment to fit for those technologies and those robots, and then it starts to prove itself. Again, not 100%. So it's okay to develop this kind of technologies. I don't see them very, common in the next 10 years, but, I might be surprised. And moving forward, maybe 50, 60 years, if it's really, really working well, then, there's a lot of things maybe humanoids can do for us. I'm not sure today.
I feel like technology these days is like mathematics in the Middle Ages when, say, Pascal or Gödel or Fermat founded a theorem, but nobody found a use for it until 100 years later. I feel like technology these days are like solutions in search of a problem because we just develop so fast. But we'll see. I think it's a very interesting space. The question of what, like you said, is very important, and we'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, from robotics in the Israeli military and research, how did you progress into building your venture?
So my first venture was a robotics company. It was really nice. We closed. We sold it at the end. It was also a venture thing. It was okay. It was nice. I think the technology is out there. And by the way, sorry, one thing about robotics and humanoids, just thinking about it, shuffling with you, maybe send them to Mars. Like, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has a plan for that, but you cannot send, 1,000 people to Mars now. It's very expensive and very dangerous. You don't want them to die in the process. It's like really, really, really dangerous. So send 1,000 humanoids. Maybe that makes sense. I think expensive, but makes sense.
That's a very good idea, actually. I spoke about Mars exploration a couple episodes ago, and we spoke about how we can't just do what humans do on planet Earth on Mars. We got to change our thinking and what we do and how we do things. There was this movie called Mars Express. It's a French movie, and in the end of the movie, basically the robots, they departed from humans. They broke up. Obviously there are some problems, like every robot movie. There's like always some issue with humans. And
communication doesn't work.
Right. They ended up leaving planet Earth, and they traveled to Mars, and they just settled a colony there, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it actually makes sense now thinking about it. But so we find the use case. That's number one.
That's number one.
Now we need to build the whole thing and finance that. Okay, so going back, sorry for the detour. Okay, yeah, so, spent my time in the robotics, and I'm still consulting and helping, and, we have past customers, and also from my military past, people are calling me, and I'm helping whenever I can, and it's, every time there's a specific things need to be done. But basically after that, and resting a little bit, being an entrepreneur is not easy. Not recommended in general. Don't do that. Do other things unless it's the only thing you can do. And then did some management consulting, corporations, startups, in all types of field, management, AI, robotics, whatever I did over there. And then I regrouped with a very good friend of mine, Oleg Yutkin, where he was also in 8-1 in that unit for about also 10 years, and he's like a genius in everything. He knows how to make everything. It's amazing. Like one man knows, he understands in AI and signal processing and software and hardware. The man he is a genius. And we worked a lot, in the units and all kind of projects. Spent many weekends and nights and a lot of hours together, and we were very good friends, and I went to open my company and that consulting business, and he went also to defense industry, design radars and flying radars and all these kind of things, like micro tactic radars, very cool solutions. And then we met again. We moved to the south, and he also went back with his family to Beersheba, to the city where he grew, and we said, okay, let's do something together. We did some ideation. At the end, we said something like, let's find not cyber, not fintech, something that might, these industries, they help the world, but something maybe makes a difference directly with human, and leverage our, let's call it, competitive advantages or unique advantages, which is signal processing, understanding of technology and humans, AI, and things that we brought to the table as a team. We brought also a Dr. Michal Gruberger, which is a neuroscientist, and we opened a neuroscience company. When the mission was, and still are, by the way, is to enable people all around the world to use neurotechnology or use neuroscience or use physiology and electrophysiology, because it is still domains that they are still in the hospital, still in clinics. They're still, I call it, hospital basement. You need to go to a room, a specific one, with doctors and technicians, put all kind of things on your head, and people can use it outside, and it's mature enough to go outside. You just, you needed just the right AI, the right software. There's enough hardware in the world, enough, manufacturers, and there was a few missing pieces over there, and we wanted to solve one of them. That we said, okay, we're good in this, so let's do this part in the chain. And it went pretty well. Like, we're 3.5 years after that. We raised, I think, significant funding from VCs. We're selling. We have our platform is commercial in 4 continents. Startup is a difficult business for everyone, especially in this time. But, we're I think we're doing well.
So it's like F1 or the pioneers of, automobile industry. They're trying to bring, technologies that they found there to the masses, to everyday cars, and you're trying to bring basically technology that's present only in hospitals and in institutions where people must sign up and you go through many doors like this radio, and then you bring that technology to the everyday people.
Exactly. That's our mission. And today we're very, very focused on mental health care, which is, you have an idea or a vision and you need to implement it in some way. So this is after... we're still doing, we have a diverse business and we have a portfolio of products, but we are in the past 2.5 years like shifting very, very strongly into mental health care. I think for 2 reasons. One is the biggest crisis that we were able to to acknowledge or identify. I also have a lot of mental health issues in my family, so I know it very closely. And actually, Oleg's mother, she's a psychotherapist and working in one of the largest mental health care institute in Israel. So, from kind of directions we just saw, and actually, even customers and big corporations that we work with, like Garmin, came to us and say, can you do this? Can you do that? So that was years ago, but we were able to adapt a lot of the technologies, the IP, and our methodology or methods to take outside of the clinic also very effective therapies and technologies and implement it basically, just using a smartwatch and our technology. And now it's just basically spreading everywhere and helping a lot of people, and even in Israel. So we're very proud of that.
I have questions on how exactly it works, but before that, I want to comment again on what you said, that self-awareness, not just, your psychological, but also physiological, how your inner self is operating, how it's doing, the status of everything. I think it's still a very underexplored field. It's still a black box for many people. I feel like our technologies, our algorithms of the social media and whatever tools we use know more about us than we ourselves do. I think it's very important for us to gain back that ownership of our own internal operations. Again, commenting on the movie Mars Express, there's a technology in a movie where people can basically see the stats of everything they have in their body, like blood pressure, everything. But not just that, it will tell them like, you're feeling a bit stressed because you just had a car accident. That seems obvious, obviously, but it's just an example. What if you have a day which you don't know what really happened, but you feel something, and what causes this feeling, and then this tool can help you retrace, this is the point that causes this, and by events of A, B, C, they combine together and causes you to feel this way. So how exactly does NeuroBrave work, and what insights does it tell us?
Of course. Well, as much as we, move forward with the podcast, with the interview, I think I need to see that movie.
It is an amazing movie.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with. Sorry.
It's not a popular movie, I must say. It's not
Mars Express.
Mars Express. It's not one of those Marvel or movies, but it does, I think, appear in the Cannes Paris event. So it's quite a very niche movie.
Right, yeah. French movie. Okay, we'll see. Translated probably. Yeah, my French is not very good. Although we have very good customers in France, but still we're speaking English.
Maybe you can impress them after watching the movie.
Yeah, probably, if they know the movie. I don't know. I'm gonna try. Yeah, so what you described is basically what NeuroBrave is actually providing even on a commercial level today. So I think we were able to do what they imagine in the movie. And there's restriction for everything and regulation for everything, and you want to put your resources where it actually provide people with valuable, some value proposition that they can improve their lives or give them added value. So I think I can explain, very basically what we're doing or what the product does. You can read it in the website. We're refreshing it because it has a lot to do with industry and gaming and stuff that we basically now very focus in mental health care. But also, we develop a stack of technology, right, or technologies that you can implement in many use cases. Now, the thing is still, it's a business. At the end, you need to sell, you need to make sure someone is willing to pay for what you do and you have a product market fit. So again, that's also, I think, an explanation. By the way, there were two reasons for mental health. I didn't say the second one, but anyway, it's a big crisis we want to solve or try to help with. And going to the product, so basically what we developed and from the beginning, a NeuroBrave product is a platform. We call it like an OS. It has a lot of similarity with operating system, and it actually from one side it receives mostly electrical information from the body, right? So physiology, electrophysiology, all kind of things that are measured through wearable devices. We can talk about which type of devices, but think about there's a device like a smartwatch or a headphone or something that measure information from your brain or your body. It sends in real time in streaming the data to NeuroBrave system through the mobile phone or whatever. We have a very advanced, complicated computational pipeline that translates the data. It needs to clean. That's like, think about you have wearable devices. It's always noisy and moving, and we're sweating and we're walking and whatever. We're swimming. So there's a lot of noise. It's not like you're in the hospital, you cannot move and everything is with a gel or something. So it's real life, real world. People are living their life, and the wearable device is just an additive, it's an added thing. It's not something they live for. So you have a lot of signal processing issues and data issues, and this is why we have signal processing engineers and radar engineers in the company. They know how to work with all of these type of signals. And it's very unique, by the way, because other companies don't have radar engineers. It's an Israeli thing, and it's NeuroBrave thing.
A radar engineer in a neuroscience company.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's one of the uniqueness of NeuroBrave. Yeah, we have a lot of those. Oleg also. So yeah, I think we're starting to get to our competitive advantage and uniqueness and how you build uniqueness in a global market. And so they know how to work with the data and clean it and extract, think about even information from the brain. We work with wearable devices, things, that are consumer-grade devices, not medical. We started with medical, of course, and then we downgraded it to things like headbands and headphones and things we'll talk about it. You're going to see 2025, 2026, but there's a lot of commercial products in the market today, but they're very noisy.
Do you produce the hardware yourself?
No. We're a software company. We have a lot of partnerships with, consumer electronics, very, very big corporations. Garmin is an example. Sony, there's a lot of them. Some of them we can publish, some of them not. We have a collaboration with Qualcomm. So all the way to the chip level, we did some vertical integration. I tend to, throw a lot of things and then I aggregate it all right? So I'm going to, collapse it to one flow. But going back again, wearable devices measure information from the body, super noisy, super, disrupted and this kind of things. So our pipeline can receive all this noise, synchronize, clean the data, and find, with all that noise, that one very weak signal that has all the information. This is what we do, like a radar system, by the way. You have a radar system, it receive a lot of electrical information from the surrounding, and it's looking for a very, very weak signal. It's like an airplane or a missile. This is exactly what we do, but with wearable devices. After we get that information, that valuable information with all that noise, we call it process data, which is like the first level after the raw data coming in. You have process data. It's already valuable for a lot of companies, like pharmaceutical companies and, partners that we have in all kind of domains. But it's not enough for consumers or not enough, for an end user. So the next level is to understand, okay, I have that type of data. For example, a specific signal from the brain, specific signal from my cardio system or my autonomous system that it's also neural. And I want to translate it into something, let's say, more useful. And that's where our AI comes, all right? We have, it takes time, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but we were able to develop very advanced AI model based on data set that we collected. Thousands of people came into our office with controlled experiments that our scientific team designed. You come, you go through some kind of experience. We measure information from everything as much as we can, like skin conductivity and heart rate and brain and movement and eyes and temperature, everything we can. We have our own secret sauce, how to label it every second. So every second is a data point. And think about people coming, experience something for 45 minutes, like very relaxed, for example, situation, very stressful situation, engaging, playing computer games or whatever.
I'm sorry, skin conductivity.
Yeah.
What does it tell us?
That's interesting. Skin conductivity is like, like a polygraph machine. They put things on your fingers and, for how much you sweat. I'm going to give like 1 minute of biology lesson, right? Basically, our neural system, and again, I'm not a doctor, so it's very, very high level, like, Wikipedia level. So our nervous system is based on 3 systems. One is the brain, of course, and 2 autonomous systems. Okay, they're called autonomous systems because they act autonomously, mostly. One of them is more famous, the other one is a little less. The more famous one is the fight or flight mechanism, right, or system. It's called the sympathetic system. And that is, today, by the way, it's fight or flight or freeze. So, many years ago, a lion would come to eat us, and then you had to prepare yourself, either to fight the lion or flee the lion or freeze, whatever, each one has his own reaction. And that is why your body needed to prepare itself. So that system, went up a little bit, more dominant than the second one. And what happens is that the body needs to prepare itself. So they ask the brain to inject adrenaline and cortisol, that are the hormones that make the body work much, much faster. You start to sweat because you need to cool yourself. Your heart rate elevates. Your stomach stops their, reaction. This is why sometimes, when you're very, very stressed, you go to the toilet because your body says, we don't have time for digestion. So take everything out because you need to fight the lion. And everything, is starting to be in a fighting mode. The sympathetic system, the fight or flight system. And the second one, her sister, is the parasympathetic, which is basically doing everything else. So once the lion went away, hopefully, it went away. You need to be balanced again. So the fight or flight system went down, and then the second system, more cardio, more immune system, everything starts to allocate resources to other areas of the body, and then it went up again. So this balance happens every second in our body, and all those three systems are basically managing everything. So through the skin conductivity, it's called electrodermal activity, EDA, or GSR, galvanic skin response. That's the professional names. You can understand, well, it's difficult, but you can understand what happens inside. Like when you are very stressed, you start to sweat, everybody. And then it's electrical signal, by the way, because it's conductivity between 2 points, basically. So you can see the signal. And if you're building a good enough model, or by the way, there are humans, technicians that can do the correlation between your GSR, between your skin conductivity response and your stress level, okay? Because it is related, very related. So either an algorithm or a human that is very, very good at that. I can say by sensing your skin conductivity, how stressed you are, all right? We can go to smartwatches, but that's another thing. There's other sensors like a PPG sensor, the red or green LED that you have on your smartwatch. They're also measuring, but the second system, more cardio, HRV things. We'll talk about it if we have enough time. But basically through relatively very simple measurement, of course the algorithm part is the difficult, but very simple measurement of physiology, you can understand what's going on in your neural system in real time. So that's the basic of it. Sorry for the biology lesson, but yeah.
No, I wanted that. Okay. I think our audience will be very interested. Using that data. Now, my question is, a lot of the tools that we have, the sensors, might not be the most accurate. You're working with a lot of providers. Some of them are very good, like Garmin. But we have also probably, or perhaps other future customers who are using less detailed sensors. If I may summarize what you just mentioned, is that you measure and obtain a lot of data from people properly through your own sensors and machines, and you do that in detail. You obtain all the data, and you turn that into basically a data set that you can use to compare with future data that you capture from the client's sensors, which might not be the most accurate or complete, but then you can compare it to the ones you have, and then you can complete that. Is that a correct understanding?
Yeah, perfect. There's a few stages in the process until you get a commercial product. When NeuroBrave publish a commercial product, it means that we have a biomarker that track a cognitive or emotional state in real time in at least 85% accuracy for it to be commercial. That is, by the way, a lot of the contrast between commercial and academic research. Usually in academic research, again, there's a lot of them, so I don't want, to disrespect something, but mostly, if you want to publish an article, then usually you get to like 70%, it's good enough. You say, okay, I see something over here, and that's enough, I did my job. From the 70% to 80, 85, 90%, that's a really, really, really difficult problem, like you see, by the way, autonomous driving, this kind of thing. To get to the part where it's good enough to be commercial, that's the difficult part most of the times. Of course, you need to do the whole thing. So in order to do it, there's a process. So yes, the first part is that we collect the data, we label it, also medical grade data and research grade data, but we also measure in the same time from those wearable devices. So we have a correlation model that can compare all the time the noisy, disrupted bad data, right, that you have from the consumer device, and the reliable data that measure from the medical device. So first of all, you need to do those things. And then there's a lot of DSP, signal processing algorithms that need to take the bad data and find the good data inside, and a lot of things you need to do. Also machine learning, we actually on a complementary way together with the DSP. Again, that's a lot of RFP, but this is what we do also. And then you get to the point where you have a model and you need to test it and validate it, right? Who knows who said it's actually right? We do a lot of testing from the technical point of view, like Google does for convolutional networks. But we're talking about humans and how they react and how they feel and how they think. It's not that simple like dogs and cats. And then you need to validate it. So there's another process over there that you need, like sending people with the watch or with the device and just live your life and answer questionnaires and, run all kind of small tests. And then you make sure that it's good enough. If it's not good enough, you go back and you iterate until it's good enough. This is basically what we do. And a lot of the smartness here is to use different types of data or different types of experience that we have labeled on our data set and create a new type of experience. We use generative AI and a lot of very advanced algorithms because at the end, one of our mission is to map the entire human experience. All right, think about it. You have a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of cognitive states that you are in, and some of them are easy to test, like, excitement, all right? And can let you play computer games and ask you all the time, are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying it? And you can say, yeah, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, okay? That's pretty easy. Let's call it like this. But how do I measure fear? All right, I cannot scare you. That's,
Right.
unethical and very complicated to do. We don't want to scare people. But we still want a very, let's call distress situation because we want to give alerts. Maybe someone is experience harassment, or maybe someone is in danger and you need to send a dispatch, a police officer, to help them. So there's a lot of value in business you need to do, but you need to go through cognitive and emotional states that are not very easy to measure, or we think it's impossible. By the way, you have excellent research lab over here, even in Reichman, that has the ability, the infrastructure, the machines, to reliably and ethically cause, let's call it pain or fear, and measure the physiology. But this is, done in a very, very controlled environment, and again, we cannot take it to the outside world. So there's a lot of smartness over here, but basically think about it. You have 2 points. Think about a space of experience. You have 2 points. Over here, you have a lot of data, a lot of high quality, high resolution labeled data. This is what NeuroBrave does. And over here, and you need something in the middle.
Right.
So you need an algorithm to basically create it in the way. And it's a lot of IP, so I won't go there. But eventually what we want to do is through relatively simple sensors and simple wearable devices or consumer grade devices to give people a full understanding of their experience and emotional experience.
Quick question. I think data such as anxiety, happiness, and everyday emotions are quite mapped and quite rich in data we have in this current time. However, things like, for example, like you said, if people was being harassed or people were in a car accident, do you see a possibility in the future where legal and the technical world works together in a way that people who are in those situations, who happen to wear devices that monitor their inner states, could upload and obviously anonymously, donate their data for future usage so that we can use that for the benefit of the future?
Well, it's a nice idea. I don't know, it might happen. It needs to be very structured. Like you need Apple to have a product for you, for Apple user, for Apple Watch user, for example, Apple Watch users, for example, that every time you have like a significant experience, you need to label it or you need to do something in order for the data to be, There's a problem with that. Problem, by the way, that this is why in NeuroBrave we do this process. This is why we first measure the experience in a very controlled environment where we can label the data, because after that, when you're in the real world, the data from the watch or everything else, because nobody knows what happened or what experience you had, how you felt, it's useless. Like it's just, physiology data or accelerometers and these kind of things.
But you do need to label it, what happened there, right?
Exactly. So this is, by the way, when we're talking also with customers and investors and researchers and partners and everything, we explain that part because, they say, but Apple and Samsung, they have, all the data in the world they can want from smartwatches, for example. The thing is, it's not labeled. And it's useless. Now, of course, you can do a lot of, you can do a lot of things with AI, and you can look for, clusters and stuff like that. But it's very, very far away from providing reliable information. Yeah.
You can assume things with AI, but I guess it's still far from being reliable. Yeah. I guess that leads me to my next question. I watched this movie again. A movie nerd, guilty as charged. Okay. Avatar. Not the one with air fire, but with the blue guys who went to Pandora. In the mission, they record themselves talking to a computer. These are soldiers, explorers, right? They talk to the computer, basically talking about their day. And this provides two things. helps the actual person who was reporting to the camera what their physiological and psychological status and experience is throughout that day. But also it reports to the system and of course the command base how their soldiers are doing. And also this is, I think, in the movie Interstellar, where they talk to the camera and just report themselves. I don't know if it was there, but I think they should have one. But have you ever thought of capturing first-party data? Obviously, the sense is first-party, but it's not something the user actually report actively, consciously. It's something that's measured passively. Have you ever thought of allowing the users to also record a voice, journaling about their day? Because for me, I like to journal and I write down basically today's date and then what happened. I'm a journal nerd and I can see 3 years back from now what I feel and experience and think about in June 12th of 2021. That's the fun thing about journaling. And then you can basically look back on not just what you did. You can see that in the calendar, but you can also see how you feel and think in that date and time. Have you thought of combining those two? So you have the sensors in your body monitoring internally, but also you have actively the user reporting back. So this is basically like labeling the data.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I don't see a lot of people doing what you're doing. That's very unique. People are usually, they have their day-to-day lives.
They're busy.
And I think you're lucky that your hobbies and what you like to do is you can implement it in your way of basically of your life and your work. But I don't see many people record themselves and doing this kind of thing day after day after day. You really need to be passionate about it. But if they do, I have to say that we are very customer focused, I think. Like we learn every day so we're a B2B company, so we're not selling directly to consumers, but we still like a B2B to consumers and employees. They're the end users of what we do.
Right.
We don't see their data. We don't need their data. We don't have access to this kind of things. We're a GDPR compliant company, but we do, we're thinking about them all the time. People don't want to work for their technology. People don't want to work for companies providing them value. They pay a subscription and they anticipate they need to get the service and they need. So I don't think I can give you an example. All right, although Google invested in us, so I'm going to say really not a bad thing about Fitbit, but mentioning what they're doing. So they have like on Fitbit Sense and Sense 2, it's a specific watch. They have electrodermal activity sensor, like the skin conductivity. This is what they do. It's on the bottom part or the upper part of the watch. And they're actually asking people like, okay, try to calm down, put your hand because it needs to measure, and then tell us how you feel. People don't do that. Like they do it because it's a nice gimmick. But, and then I don't want to work for Fitbit. Like I pay that $200, $300 for the watch. I want them to work for me. So this is like a point of view of most of consumers. And by the way, because of that, we don't use consumers' data. We don't use the end user data. First of all, we don't want access. Like we build a very, very private and secured system. So from the beginning of the company, we said, okay, what we're going to do with all the privacy issue, because it's super important, especially for US, consumers. So we're only building on our own data set of people that came, and of course we paid them a little bit and they were okay and consent to give their data, and not our customers' users or the end user. They're like completely free. Their data is not stored anywhere and we don't need it. So this is like a very unique pipeline also. But if you can scale people to label the data for you, then it's very powerful. Very, very powerful. You can get to millions of people reporting on their feelings while you measuring physiology or neurology. That's amazing. I don't see how you can convince them to do that. Maybe pay them a lot of money. I have no idea. Yeah.
Right. I guess, the point is it's a lot of work to do that unless you actually want to do it like I do. The reason I do this, by the way, is because one day I want to collect all this data. Right now I just type. Only occasionally, if there's like a huge event, like I win something big or something really bad happened to me, then I will record myself so that I can also see my facial expressions. But for most days, I just type. And the reason I do this is because I want to feed this to like an LLM, an open source Llama 3.1, for example. And then I can clone myself with, basically it has all the memory and experience that I have and contextualized in a time frame. And basically I can consult myself, my version 2 self, on what would I do if I meet like another situation, So that's
That's amazing.
that's one idea that I want to try building. So I'm just collecting the data right now, and like after maybe 1 year, I'll put that into practice.
All right, sounds interesting.
So if you want to explore this path of also like collecting first-party data, I'm your test subject.
Yeah, first of all, you're very invited, to be a participant in one of our experiments. They're super cool, super light. It's fun, It's not painful or something. You're just having like a 45 minutes of a stressful and relaxed experience, or something else that we're doing with cognition. It's really nice. So
where's your lab, by the way?
We have labs all around the world that we work with, and also partners and universities. Our major that we have here is in Beersheba. So you're gonna have to drive to the south an hour and something, unfortunately. But it's portable, So maybe eventually we'll do this kind of partnership with one of the labs here in Reichman. But so far we have enough people, so that's good.
But you do believe that if we can collect that first-party data through, well, again, the work is speech. The work of typing is a lot of work. Most people won't do that. Literally yesterday, I had a episode with Aeola's CEO. Basically, he turned speech into text. And he does that way better than OpenAI's Whisper. So he's like one of the leading in the industry. And I guess if we can combine that technology, basically make it easier for people to document their day, we can have a very powerful data set for like, internal monitoring.
Yeah, and you have videos and stuff. Like I can give you an example. Yesterday I was with my 7-year-old daughter, and we were on a roller coaster.
That's the perfect data.
And it was a scary one. Like it's for older people, and she was like, I don't care, I'm not scared. And she was high enough, exactly on the threshold, and they let her in, and it was actually scary. Like I like extreme sport and stuff. Today I'm mostly working, but I'm a mountain climber and alpinist and this kind of thing. So my adrenaline level usually needs some very strong stimulation to pump out. To pump in, but I guess my daughter probably got some of the DNA, and that was, even for me, it was scary. Like, it was pretty fast and thing, and she was like, I want to do it again. And you can see all the expression, all the adrenaline pumping in her a small body, and it was really interesting. Like, yes, if you can capture those moments and label the data, think about it, you need to be very accurate. Like every second, you need to measure it pretty well. Then you have a really interesting potential, and if it's for yourself and private and people can benefit from it, sounds like a cool idea.
I mean, it's like what you said, right? We have so many data in this world. It's just that they're not labeled and they're not structured. And we are already taking pictures and videos of ourselves in especially emotional moments. That's like already the perfect thing. However, the labeling is not there. So I guess in the future, I feel like, one day when the LLM is small enough to run on our phones privately, not sent to any cloud, and the processing is done, locally, and the data is stored locally in private in your machine, in your devices, in your eye glasses, in
smart
the future.
Glasses, you have this kind of thing.
Phones will be a thing of the past, right, in the future. And then you'll basically have all this information for yourself, and it will work for you, right?
Yeah, might be. I think by then probably NeuroBrave products will be much more powerful. Yeah, I'm guessing. As long as you have a smartwatch and our solution is one of your mental health care provider, then it's probably going to work for you just like that. Like you can always validate or add a little bit more types of experiences. But we're trying to do, at least from our point of view, like we trust the biology, the physiology, the neurology. We trust, those more medical point of view methodology. And the only thing that we are doing is actually we found a way how to use it without you need to go to the hospital or you need to put a medical grade device or a cap on your head or this kind of crazy stuff that people won't wear unless they really have to. And again, on our segment, that is mental health care, helping people to manage their stress and reduce anxiety. And we have a lot of PTs, unfortunately, patients here in Israel. And even the massive population is suffering from it in different levels. We're in research, but depression also eventually we're going to get to that. It's a very big problem. And everything that has to do with mental health, wellness, and mental health care, we're trying to solve and do something about it. And really good results, like we have customers in Japan, in Europe, in US, and now trying to well, Israel is a small country, but it is very important for us also to contribute whatever we can. We have volunteering initiatives in the south. We're working with a lot of organizations and doing everything we can. Eventually, hopefully, get to every citizen of Israel that needs it.
I guess it's obvious that if we can do all this internal monitoring without obviously the user having to do the work, that's superior. So I think what NeuroBrave is doing is way more factual because your heart won't lie, and your experience through your speech is usually subjective.
Yeah, it's
exactly,
subjective.
Exactly. So I guess it's always best to rely on the data from the body. Regarding what you said about helping people, especially obviously during current situation with the war, a few episodes ago, Eyal Gura, he's a founder of Zebra Medical. He is doing also an initiative in the South to help people go through PTSD, basically solve PTSD with psychedelics. Maybe it will be interesting if you guys can partner or something.
There's a lot of initiatives like this, yeah.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. So usually in the podcast, in the last bit, we like to not just talk about technology. Obviously, that's the part for the beginning for me to nerd out. But in the end, I'd like to hear from you personally. What's your experience being a startup founder? Because we have a lot of aspiring founders also, entrepreneurs, listening to the podcast. And we would love to hear your advice, your story, your experience. And I want you to be frank. Like you said before, you mentioned that it's not recommended to be an entrepreneur. And I've heard this not just from you. It's, I think, at least for those who are frank about it, they're actually going to tell you to the face, don't be an entrepreneur. I mean, NVIDIA's Jensen Huang said, don't do this. I don't recommend this. Yeah. So I want to hear your story. Why be an entrepreneur? And for those who eventually must do it, because I think sometimes people, it's like a survival thing, not just something they dream about. What would you recommend? And yeah, just want to hear your story.
All right. Gonna try to be, practical. Although we can talk about emotions and stuff, but it's very, very subjective. I don't think people can benefit from that. Well, I used to give a lecture about why not being a startup and an entrepreneur. It's not a depressing, it's funny actually, a funny presentation. But when you look at the statistics, but without you taking peeling off all the layers of marketing and things you probably put in the media, is that it's globally something like 1 to 2,400 startups that are successful. Successful is, by the way, a secondary, some kind of liquidation or something that the original founders can get more than $10 million before tax. Okay, that's my criteria for success, because, I can always work for Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, whatever, and make probably 3 times more than I make as a startup entrepreneur. So, during all those years, you lose a lot of money eventually. So you need to be compensated somehow. And we're just talking about really just capital-wise. There's a lot of benefits, all right, to do something, to fail, to succeed, to all this roller coaster is also, we'll talk about it. But, just very strict KPIs, like how do you measure success of a startup? You count how much, compensation, how much money the founders receive from it. And then you will see that it's about 1 to 24, 2,500, 2,500 companies to 1. That's not a good ratio. And there's other reasons for that. It's not my job. There's a lot of analysts and things that has access to more data than I have. But understanding this ratio, you do understand you're going to fail. All right. So you're probably going to fail, and probably going to fail several times. Like even if you do it, more than once, so this is something you need to be built for, because you put a lot of your time and effort, and you give away your hobbies, and you give away a lot of time with your family and your friends and things that people like to do, and you give it to your company because there's a very big difference. It's very personal, but on an average, founders, the company is their baby in some way. They put a lot of effort, they care about it, they have a lot of equity also. Like they want to be eventually compensated, they want to be the heroes. There's a lot of potential benefits from being a successful entrepreneur. But the road is very difficult, all right? And we call it bipolar disorder, all right? Because you're constantly in bipolar disorder. going up and down and up and down, and it can happen, within 2 hours. Like you have one good hour with a customer and then one bad hour with an investor, then you're up and you're down again, and then you're up and you're down again. So you need to be resilient enough in order to absorb all of those changes and maintain, we call it mellow, like you need to be mellow. You need somehow...
Stable.
Exactly. Not to be, not to crash every time or, be completely, out of it just because you had a really good success. Because even going back to the products of NeuroBrave, I'm using my own products all the time, and I'm making sure, to monitor myself and use our own therapies, and it keeps me very balanced. And you can see that, your system can absorb as much as you have, and as much as experience and support from your family and friends, and each person has, his own support from other places. But at the end, it's something very internal. Like you need that internal force to help you went through all of those ups and downs all the time. And, and keep going in the direction you want to go. And, I work like 18 hours a day for years, since I've known myself, even before being an entrepreneur. Also, in the unit, everybody works very hard, and you do it for the country and for, for the security of the country. And it's a type, I'm used to do those things. I might enjoy even the suffering a little bit, all right? But this is me. And looking at myself, and now it's a little bit subjective. I can do other things. I work in corporation. But in the end, it's like an internal force or voice or whatever, a psychiatric problem that I have. But the thing is that that this is your contribution to the world. At least this is what I do. Like I know that I can do a lot of things. Some of them I suck. Some of them I'm very good. Some of them I'm, even create damage. There's a lot of things you can do. And I want to make sure that I spend my time contribution as much as I can to everyone else. And this is why I'm focusing on the things that I think I can do a little bit better than others. You need to prove it, and you need to fail many times as NVIDIA CEO in order to be successful, probably. Sometimes you get lucky, by the way. It happens, but not often,
Very rarely.
Almost never, yeah. But you need a combination, I think, also luck, specifically in the markets, and a lot of resilience and a lot of hard work. It's always like this. And since, again, personally, I like to work hard. Not all people like that, and that's very good. It's okay. You need to be able to absorb all those changes and be very resilient on your inner psychological system. You need a lot of support from outside. You cannot do all those things by yourself. And you need to be very persistent, because it takes time. It always takes time. Every hour, every day, something else breaks. And you need to fix it, or just, live with it, that it's broken a little bit, and since someone else is going to fix it. And that is, I have to say that, entrepreneurship is not only for startups and businesses and stuff like that. It's things like you do and things like other people do. And, working in Israel with a lot of mental health care and a lot of organizations, you see people doing amazing things, not for profit, just for other people. And that's even more important, I think, once, you don't have that goal of financial goal that you need to get to. But and you see a lot of common denominator between those people that can and wishes to continue and doing all of this hard work. I think it's a type. It's a type. I can do other things. I won't be enjoying it, and there will always be something missing, and always the thought that maybe I can do more. And over here, I'm constrained with the corporation saying something, and I have to comply with that. And maybe when I have my own company, I can be a little bit more free. Although that's also not true. Like I'm the CEO, and I have more people telling me what to do than most of my employees. It's funny. It's, you're not on your own.
But at least the business is self-imposed. I mean, you decided to do this.
Again, I have investors, I have, shareholders, I have my partners, I have my employees, I have my managers. I need to decide. And I like to make decisions. Not everybody like to make decisions. I'm okay with making decisions, but you don't do them most of them on your own. So, you still need either feedback or someone saying, yes, it's okay, before you can make a decision. So anyway, I'm most of the day I'm working for other people. That's a little bit funny, but this is how it goes. And as much as you go up the chain, like when you're very low down the chain, you only have one boss.
Yeah.
Right? You have your team leader, that's
Right.
it. You have your colleagues, but you don't care about them all the time. You have one boss, he's telling you what to do, where to go, and he's paying you, you know. And then you go up and you have that manager and that manager and that employee and that team leader, and they're also telling you what to do. And as you go up the chain, there are more and more and more people telling you what to do, and that's okay.
So entrepreneurship is not for everyone. It's very difficult. It's very challenging. The road is very ugly, though also rewarding, you know. But I guess people have to reassess themselves very, very carefully if this is the route they want to take. Because I think these days it's been marketized, it's been commercialized. Everyone is a founder CEO. Everyone wants to be, you know, leading a company. But I think if they really take a look at themselves, it might be the case that, you know what, this is not what I want to do. So I'm not saying entrepreneurship is bad, but people must be very, very careful in what they want to do. So I guess the last question is why entrepreneurship for you specifically?
So I told you, you know, the one-line answer is that I can do. This is the only thing I can do.
Any story from the past, any experience that led you to being more entrepreneurial than most others?
I think I've always been like this.
Okay.
Probably I've been, you know, even in the first degree in the Technion, I was in a group of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and we were a part of like a program for that.
Were you in the BizTech or T-Hub?
It was before that, but it was
Okay.
one. Don't remember the name of the guy. I think he passed away. It was really, really good. He pushed entrepreneurship all around Israel. Anyway, it was like a program of 20 students, and everyone has his own project, and you know, it was like a really one-on-one you know, entrepreneurship in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
And then we need to develop the idea and need to sell it. And a lot of companies, by the way, a lot of corporations came to listen to the, you know, exhibition.
And you saw a lot of potential in yourself while you're doing that.
I think I really enjoy that. And again, it's a lot of hard work. Like you really need to work for all of those things. It doesn't just, you know, come up. And I'm okay with working very hard. And I think, again, that's my character. I really love to consult with other people. I love to hear a lot of advices. And I never think I'm the smartest guy in the room. You know, there's a thing with specifically US entrepreneurs. You need to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm never the smartest guy in the room. I don't care about it. As long as there are people around me that are smarter or better than me, that means I'm in the right place. Like, I think my my advantage is that I think I can, you know, harness or you know, align a lot of people together and make sure that, you know, together we follow some kind of trajectory. But I never do those things alone. Like, I have friends that are, you know, single founder or single CEO and this kind of thing. It's terrible. It's really just tearing you apart all the time, and you're losing, you know, everyone else. Like, you know, sales and marketing, there's a lot of people better than me. Tech, of course, a lot of people. You know, there's in everything that I'm doing, there is someone I hope next to me that is better than me in what they do. And my job is basically synchronize everyone and make sure we're going in the right way.
Play the orchestra.
Exactly. This is what I like to do. I'm also, you know, I also like the ideation part and thinking and understanding. I understand AI very deeply. I understand what my data scientists are doing. No, up to some level. I understand my customers. I like sales and marketing. I really enjoy, you know, I have an interesting story, but I really enjoy when a customer is willing to pay us. This is like, that's the threshold of you're actually doing something right. You're solving someone else's problem all the way until he's willing to open his pocket and pay you for that. That is a very difficult action, you know, to pay
of value.
Yeah, and you know, after working so hard on something, there is someone else in the world where, you know, you're selling him a story, you're telling him something, and then he say, okay, you're telling me a story, I want to try, and then he actually see it's working.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, number one, exciting. You actually, you know, the person was surprised that actually the story you were telling is actually working. This, by the way, a lot of Israeli startups were really good at that. We're making things, you know, happen, and they're actually working a lot of the time, not just telling stories. And then he say, okay, And maybe it's actually solving the problem that you were telling me that story about. So I want to try it outside. I want to really feel as if, it's in reducing my stress, reducing my employees' stress, reducing my organization, helping my consumers, these kind of things. And then when the person or organization you're willing to pay, this is like, a really good feeling. And, there is something, by the way, also I'm telling to, I think like, it's not organizational psychology, but more the values of the company. Right, we're a small company, but still important the values. We're very transparent. We're, are very resilient. Our customers are very important. But I told my employees, and I keep on telling them, time after time, something very, very simple and might be, looking at it can be very shallow, maybe even. There is one thing we need to do in our company, beside all the good thing and helping people. That's important, all right? But in order for the company, which is a commercial company, in order to survive, in order to be successful, we need to make our customers want to pay us money. That's the only thing we need to do. If we can make customers want to pay us, that means that everything we're doing, all the way from the top to bottom, it means we're doing something right. After that, we can think, all right, want to make sure it's helping the world because we have our vision, we have our social responsibility, that the tech is cool, etc. But first of all, you want to make your customers happy, satisfied, and want to pay you. If you don't do that, nothing else really matters.
Market validation, yeah.
Market validation, product market fit. And product market fit is now replicate that, that we have one customer is willing to pay you, want to make sure there's more of them. If it's just one, you're also in a problem.
Right, maybe it's your mom.
Exactly, friends and family. No,
Right.
Even if it's, it's a Fortune 500 company, you want to make sure there's another 400 like them that are willing to pay you the same way.
Yeah.
But again, going back to myself, and these are the things where the loop is closed, is getting close from my point of view. It means we did all this hard work. We spent all of this, time and money and GPUs and whatever we're using to develop what we're doing. And that is the point where we're actually making a change. That is what I'm excited about.
That's the conclusion of the hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
So the founder attributes that I can see from you, and you can add to this: humility, being able to lead with vision, and finding the right people to work with.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. Yeah, I won't be embarrassed, but that's a lot of my personal values.
Great. Yes. One last thing, I want to share an observation throughout this podcast before you leave. I've invited a lot of very impressive CEOs and founders to the podcast, and all of them are who came here to Startup Shook, and including you. And one thing that strikes me from you is that throughout this podcast, I have this very calming energy coming from you, because I don't usually get this comfortable with people. Even though I've done this many times, it's still quite scary, to have someone from a billion-dollar company or $1 million company coming here to speak with me. So I like that about you, and that's a very cool, I think, character.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not doing it on purpose, so I'm happy that you get that vibe. We're in the mental health care business, so you need to be modest. You need to make sure that you make other people feel comfortable with what you do. When I'm doing demonstration of our product, I can show you, by the way, later. Just it's a podcast, so I'm not sure you're going to see it on the computer, but I'm usually demonstrating on myself. Like I'm showing, the customers or investors or partner, whoever is watching, I'm showing my own stress level and my own physiology and my own response to all kind of changes. So, you need to be... you need to be confident, I think, in yourself and what you're doing, and embrace your own disadvantages, and say that's me. That's me, like exposed at least once a day.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what you said before. You got to be very, very stable if you want to lead a company. You got to be calm and collected.
Yeah, and you cannot. Most of the time you're not allowed to break.
Yeah.
Everybody else is okay to break, to melt down, but you still,
But not the guy in the helm.
Exactly. You can break after that. You can, cry somewhere out there on your own with your girlfriend or wife or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, just kidding. It's you need to be also strong and resilient for all the others, because they're, at the end they're looking up to you, or in some way, or at least, they want to learn from you. Or if the leader is breaking down, that I'm one of the employees, what should I do?
Right.
So also there's a lot of pressure all the time, but I have, my very good employees and very good partners, and, we're like trying to work all the time as one unified, group of people. So you're also getting strength from others.
Beautiful. Dror, it's been a masterclass. It's been fun talking with you. And yeah, I'm happy I'm able to nerd out on stuff I'm actually passionate about, this neuroscience things. So very glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for this conversation. I hope, people will be interested to listen to this.
They will. They will. So if people want to learn more about NeuroBrave, where can they go?
Right now, the most updated channel is our LinkedIn, just NeuroBrave on LinkedIn, and also our website, of course.
That's neurobrave.com.
Exactly. Yeah, easy to catch.
Amazing. Dror, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come to my hackathon. Come. Bo. I just bought you hackathon. Special deal. 20% off.
Startup Shuk. Exploring Israel's Tech Bazaar with Deo Arlo.
All our shows and podcasts available online on our website and on all podcast platforms. Search Audioversity.